What's up, guys? I'm back with another video, and this is different from most of the stuff I've been doing lately. But today, I have a game/platinum trophy review of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And in fact, this is a 100% trophy review because I completed the main game trophies, including the platinum, and also all the DLC trophies, which is two DLCs, the Legacy of the Blade and the Fate of Atlantis. So I've played the main game, I've played the DLC, I've played it all. I've done pretty much everything this game has to offer. I didn't do every side quest and all that, but I have played most of the game. Now, I'll show you here that it says that it took me 109 hours. In reality, it was more like 85. That includes some time when I got the game a couple years ago and tried to play it. Didn't really get that far, didn't really do much in the story. But this time I had a more focused playthrough, got about 85 hours for the whole thing, which is pretty long, and we'll get to that in a minute. But my overall thoughts are that this is a really good game. If you're a fan of this genre, this style of game, I think it's a lot of fun. It sort of fits for me into like the God of War 2018 feel of a game. And obviously it feels a lot like Origins, the other Assassin's Creed game that I've played recently. And it's just that style of game, you know what I mean? I had a really good time. It kind of reminds me of Shadow of Mordor a little bit, I will say. Those games I played semi-recently, enjoyed those as well. But yeah, this a fun game. It was a long game if you're going for everything, and that's something I'll touch on in a minute. But my overall thoughts are this is a fun game, this is a good game. First, let's get into some of the more positive things about this game. Number one, I would say the game mechanics for the most part are great. I think that the map is really easy to use. You understand where you're supposed to be going. You can understand the feel and the flow of the game. It's not like the game leaves you to just figure out a bunch of stuff on your own and it's impossible to figure out. I think they do a really good job of showing you what you need to see and giving you the information that you need at any given time to sort of progress through the game for the most part. You can kind of see what's a main quest, what's a side quest. I think the game mechanics are good, and that includes combat as well. I think combat is pretty good in this game. I think especially once you get the feel for it. It's a little weird at first because there's no real. You can parry, but there's not really the sort of Batman Arkham style or Shadow of Mordor style press triangle to block sort of feel. But once you get used to how you're supposed to parry and dodge and stuff, I think the flow of combat is really good too. Number two positive, I think, is the story. The story keeps you engaged enough to sort of tell you where you should be going and keep you motivated to figure out some of this stuff. But it doesn't force you to watch every cutscene, which is something that I appreciate because I read the subtitle and advance to the next step of the cut screen or of the cutscene, which I think is really useful. And you may see me do that in some of these videos. Just press circle and switch and skip that dialogue option and just go on. It's not an option. Skip that dialogue line and go on to the next one. But overall, I think the story, I mean, you could say what you want about plot holes or whatever. There's certainly plot holes. But overall, I think the story is good from a standpoint of the motivation of the bad guys is kind of like, yeah, I believe that. It's not one of those, oh, we just want to destroy the world. It's basically like, hey, listen, you as an assassin are a bit off the beans, a bit unruly, and that's kind of believable, I guess. The other side, they kill people too, so it's not like they're perfect. But overall, the story is engaging enough to keep you wanting to figure out what happens and not just give up on the game. So that's something valuable, I think. Number three, I would say the visuals of this game are awesome. This is a PS4 game. I can't speak for how it plays on Xbox or PC or any of that, but this is a PS4 game. I have a PS5, and this game runs so well. There was a 4K 60 update a while back, maybe a year ago or so. Origins and Odyssey both got the same update. And both of these games look really good. And I got to say also, this kind of ties in a little bit to the last one. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology. My name is Titan Jeff. The Titan in Titan Jeff is indirectly referring to the Titans of Greek Odyssey or of Greek mythology lore. So I'm very interested in Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. I have read about it in the past, read fiction about it. I took classes in high school about mythology. So I'm very interested in Greek mythology, and it was so cool to see some of this stuff represented in a really, really kind of modern look of a game. And you see things from Greece, you see You see the Parthenon in Athens. You just see all this stuff, and it looks so good, and the game runs so well, and the colors are great. And you may, it's actually my fault. You may see some issues with some of these clips that I'm showing you, but for the most part, I think they look pretty good. I fixed a brightness issue a little bit of ways through the game, but some of them might look a little weird. But the game plays great. It runs great. It's, I want to say, a 2019 game maybe, but it runs great on PS5. Feels great, fun to play. Number 4 is the DLC. The DLC was so awesome. I think especially, I mean, the Legacy of the First Blade or whatever it was called was the first DLC, and it was okay. I didn't love it. It was okay. But the Fate of Atlantis DLC was awesome. To me, it's everything that you want from a Greek mythology RPG historical fiction type game. I mean, you interact with some of the gods, you interact with heroes, and you interact with heroes throughout the game, but it's a lot more grounded in reality for the first part of the game. But the DLC really gets into some of the more mythological lore type things, and like I said, you meet gods, you go to Atlantis. I don't think that's a spoiler. You do all this sort of stuff that is more the stuff that you would read about in a fiction Greek mythology book. So it was so cool to really be completely immersed in that world and just enjoy that. I thought it was great. But it's not all good. I will say there were a few negatives about this game that kind of stick out to me. Number 1, and this is probably the most glaring in my mind, is some of the specific game mechanics. I said earlier that the game mechanics for the most part are pretty good, but there are a few things that are just kind of questionable. One thing is the water travel. I got really tired of going around on this boat, and this is different from Origins. Origins, you could basically swim across any water in the world, and it might take you a while, but you could swim if you wanted to, or there were a bunch of little boats just kind of floating around, and you could hop on one of those and go across the water and go to wherever you're going. The water in this Greek setting is a lot more sea focused, so you couldn't swim through the whole thing. You couldn't go on little boats. They forced you onto your main boat to make a lot of trips, and it was frankly enraging at times to just sit on this boat for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes as I had to trek across the world on an Odyssey. I mean, it felt to me like they were making the game maybe unnecessarily long, and I think part of that is some of the fast travel points as well, and this kind of relates to the water travel mechanics because your main fast travel points in this game are like water docks. So that is a departure from Origins. In Origins, you would go to a new city, and this is an Egypt game. So let's say you go to Thebes, right? And you could then fast travel to the city center at any time after you've already been there. It's not like that in Odyssey. I can't fast travel to cities. I can only fast travel to these perception points, they call them, in cities, which is basically like really high obelisks and monuments. So, for instance, there was one in Athens that was on top of the plateau that the Parthenon is on. But anytime I wanted to go anywhere in Athens, I first had to fast travel to this statue of Athena that's next to the Parthenon, and then I had to jump off and like scale my way down this plateau, which is so annoying. And it didn't need to be like that. I mean, they could have added fast travel points that are, like the middle of the city, like they did in Origins. So that was incredibly frustrating to me, and I just got really tired of sailing the ship around. And sometimes like you're sailing the ship around and it's useful, right? Like you're destroying some ships or something that need to be destroyed, but in this case, it was just, and you couldn't like auto, so when you're on a horse, you can just basically hold X to follow the road, press triangle to go to your destination. So it's not a fast travel, but it doesn't require me to make the turns and stuff. When you're on the ship, you have like a travel speed, but if you just let it go, it'll go off course. And that was so annoying to me. I had to sit there and actually tell it where to go. It's just annoying. It was a questionable decision. It didn't ruin the game for me, but it got old eventually. Second of all, a problem I had with the game is the mercenaries and civilians. Okay, so the way the game works is if you get caught doing illegal stuff, Civilians will see it, they will report it. You'll get bounty hunters coming after you, but also if you bring out your sword and start swinging in a city market or something, civilians will like get brooms and they'll get hammers and stuff and they'll try to kill you, and it's so stupid. Like, I'm fully kitted in this Greek armor, and you're telling me that you're wearing your toga and you're going to pick up a broom and fight me? It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And it just got annoying. I mean, they weren't difficult to dispatch at all, but it was so annoying that I had to do it constantly, and it got so old so quickly. And part of that, I think, is the mercenaries as well. So the mercenaries are, like I said, they're bounty hunters that are out and about in the world, and if you've been doing a bunch of illegal stuff, they will follow you around basically, and they'll track you, and they're like hunting hounds. They get your scent and they will follow you anywhere. Like, you'll be inside an enemy fort and they'll just walk in behind you, and the enemies in the fort don't really respond to that. They're fine with that. But now I have to deal with this like high-powered, well-kitted mercenary while I'm just trying to follow the story. And it was annoying. And I get it. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of how it really would have worked, right? Like, you can't just go around killing people, or you'll get in trouble, and bounty hunters will come after you, I assume, in the Greek world. But it was just annoying when I'm playing the game. Like, I get it. It's a mechanic. It was just annoying. It just got very old very quickly. Number three, something that was a negative for me, is the modern day story. I'm talking the meta story of Assassin's Creed, and I don't care about it at all. I have only ever played two Assassin's Creed games in depth. That was Origin and Odyssey. And there was a little bit of this in Origins, but there was a lot more of it in Odyssey, and it's so annoying. I don't care about the characters. It didn't even feel that important for the story either. I mean, you didn't have any trophies that were related other than unmissable. Oh, you finished chapter 7. There were no trophies related to real life gameplay. It's just, to me, it was a very weak storyline, and I understand that it's kind of what Assassin's Creed is based on, but I wish there was a switch at the beginning of the game where they say, would you like to just play a historical fiction RPG set in the Greek world? Or would you like to play this meta Assassin's Creed game? Because I don't want to play the meta game. I don't care about these characters. I think that they're annoying. I think that they're poorly written. I don't have the context from the first games of the series. I literally just want to put Greek armor on my dude and meet Poseidon and Hades. So that's kind of what I was focused on. And every single time I would go back to the modern day story, I would say, oh great, here we go again. Another round of this. So that was annoying to me. It's not game breaking. It's fine, but it was annoying. Number 4, and this one I think to some people will probably be the main one. The game is just too long. The main story itself, I think, is too long. If you don't do any side quests, which is possible, and obviously I was doing a lot of extra stuff to get the Platinum Trophy and the 100% trophies, but even if you just played the main story, it's an incredibly long game. I want to say that Origins, I got the Platinum in maybe 55 hours, something like that. Odyssey was 85, and as I mentioned, I'm like speed running through cutscenes, and I knew what I was doing, and I played on easy mode. I always play on easy mode. I think it's a lot more fun to do this kind of narrative story based game on easy mode. I don't want to just waste my time with bullet sponges, but if you're playing this game on a harder difficulty, or if you're watching every single cutscene in its entirety, you could be playing this game for hours and hours and hours. And if you get into the DLCs as well, you could just be playing this game for so long. That being said, I think the DLC sort of reinvigorated my interest a little bit. By the time I'd gotten to the end of the main story and the main trophies, I was kind of like, oh man, I'm getting tired of this. But I think the DLC was a fresh splash, and it was fun, and especially the Atlantis storyline. I enjoyed a lot. It was fun. But overall, I just think this game is too long. It didn't need to be this long. There's a lot of unnecessary kind of fetch questing stuff, which is a common refrain complaining about Assassin's Creed games. But to the credit of Ubisoft, I think that they do it very well, and I think that if you're interested in the setting of these games, I think it could be a lot of fun. I think Origins was a lot of fun. I think Odyssey was a lot of fun. I'm not going to play Valhalla just because I don't care as much about Norse mythology, not North, as I do about Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology, but specifically Greek mythology is what I'm most interested in. So I won't be playing Valhalla. I might play some of the other games that come out down the road if I feel like giving them a chance. But overall, I did enjoy this game. I had a good time doing this, or I would not have finished it. I've given up on games before when I'm trying to get the platinum trophy if I wasn't having fun, but I did have fun with this, and it kept me coming back. You know, it's a little bit of an addiction. It's like, oh, I really want to play Assassin's Creed tonight. I was really excited to progress the story and see how the characters progress and see how my character progresses and get new armor and get new weapons and all of that. So I do think it's a good game. I would recommend it to people. I would just encourage you to keep in mind some of the positives and negatives that I've laid out, and hopefully this is helpful for you or nice for you if you're maybe thinking about playing this and want to get somebody's thoughts on it. So I try not to do any spoilers or anything in this video. I hope you enjoyed it.